Hey, this is a message that's going out to all the draft professors. So this is just me saying thank you. Um, I'm going to be pointing out maybe some of what's going to happen over the summer. I think I've had conversations with nearly every regular podcaster about what's going on over the summer, but I wanted to kind of spell it out in a very brief video. And if you have feedback on this, nothing's in stone. But I learned a lot when we did summer scouting last year, and I want to be able to improve upon that this year. So this year, I'm going to call it the Draft Professor 800. Identify the best 800 prospects in college football. So the way that that's going to happen is there's going to be a conference podcast. So Mondays is going to be the SEC podcast. Tuesdays is the Big Ten. Wednesdays is the ACC. Thursdays is the quarterback show. Fridays is the Big 12. Um, there might be a little bit of modification there because if the Big 12 people can't do Friday, I will move that to Thursday. And I'm going to kind of look over to my side here so I can tell you who I think is doing each. So, SEC on Monday, I have Will Thomas, I have Daniel from Home Squad Sports, Clint Goss, and Jordan doing the SEC on Mondays. Now, I think Jordan said he would prefer to do the ACC, so I might move Jordan to Wednesday, and I'm going to need to backfill somebody to Monday with SEC. We've got plenty of people. I don't think that's going to be a problem. On Tuesdays, it's the Big Ten. So that's Randall, Owen, Steve, and Matt. So that would be likely two podcasts, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but that would be Randall, Owen, Steve, and Matt. Your favorite teams are all in the Big Ten, so there's a reason that you were assigned that. Wednesdays for the ACC, I have Durst, Peter, Christian, possibly Jake Shivnick, and possibly Jordan. So what I need to figure out there is, for example, can Jake go to Monday, help out with the SEC, or does he need to stay on Wednesday? I need to follow up on that specific conversation. Quarterbacks on Thursday is going to be EJ and Marcus. And there's probably going to be a third person on that podcast. I still have to confirm that Jordan, my name won't fit from Draft Nerds, is available on Thursday. So Jordan should be podcasting on Thursdays really soon. Um, so I think that that Thursday lineup is ready to go. And again, if the Big 12 needs to move to Thursday, we would have time to do both podcasts. Fridays for the Big 12, I have Drew, who goes to Kansas. I have Taylor, who I believe is a Kansas State fan. I have JT Olson being able to do that on Friday night. I also have Anthony Russo, who has told me he would be available to do the Big 12 on Friday nights. So, as long as Taylor and Drew can do the same podcast together, I think this is going to go quite well with a Kansas and a Kansas State podcaster covering the Big 12. I'm looking forward to that, guys. Um, Saturdays, Tyler Hill and Anthony Russo will probably have the morning show. Ben, you're on that morning show now. Um, and I know, Ben, I will get you, like, Ben, if you can do the ACC on Mondays, we would slate you in there. People like the Saturday morning versus the weeknight spots. So we need to have that conversation. Sunday mornings, Jack Brentnall, Sam Teets, I have on Sunday mornings. Sunday nights, I have Brian Maffey on at 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday night. I still need to find a second podcaster to work with Brian Sunday nights. So ultimately, the way that the conference scouting works is each week you'll be given a position. And then the goal is to identify what I'm calling top 50%. But the top 50% is more of what is the volume of players that we need to do draft professor content the rest of the cycle. So, for example, if there's 18 teams in a conference, that means that there's 90 starting offensive linemen. So I'm saying, okay, we have to find the 45 best offensive linemen in the conference. But if you say, well, Jim, 45 is a lot, I'm like, okay, come to the podcast with as many as you can. Come to the podcast with 27 that you like. Even though I said the quota was 45, come to 27. There's a good chance that the other person coming to the podcast isn't going to have the same guys that you do. You may have the same guys at the top, but by the time you get further down, you're going to like different guys. So ultimately, the goal would be to have 200 players from every conference that form the Draft Professor 800. We still have to mix in some FCS players into that as well. So each week, your position will rotate. Offensive line is going to be the worst one because I'm lumping tackles and guards and centers into one group because experience tells me that you see a tackle in college who's going to play guard, that there's no reason to make that decision. Right now, we're trying to identify the best players. So, very little of the podcast will be top 10 boards, and everything is going to be we're scouting and we're finding good players. Because here's what I want to have happen with the 2027 cycle. I want draft professors to be a leader. I probably should have started the podcast with that, but I want to be a leader. What does that mean? That means make content that you would watch. So if the way that I'm steering it is not content that you would watch, correct me now. Like pull me aside, say, Jim, I heard what you're doing, but that's not accurate. Now, what I think would happen is anybody watching our podcast is going to learn about new players. Because if we're covering the top 45 offensive linemen in the Big Ten, I'm confident that a lot of those guys aren't going to be mentioned on other podcasts. Because if a podcast does a top 10, they're going to miss 30 of those offensive linemen to begin with, right? So my goal is people will watch our podcast because we're covering more players. And if you have a better way to accomplish that than the Draft Professor 800, which is the top 200 players from the Big 12, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 10. If you have a better way to do that, I want to hear it, definitely. And I will listen to each and every one of you because this channel wouldn't function without the contributions of each of you. And I'm so humbled that all of you are involved. And you figure if you look back 12 months ago, the only podcasters that are still here from 12 months ago are Randall and Owen and EJ and Russo and Brian Maffey. And if I'm in Durst, because I remember that too, right? Nearly everybody else is new, right? Meaning we found you over the summer, we found you early in the fall. Your contributions are what are making this work. Um, I I feel like we have the right group. It's a matter of harnessing the group. So a lot of what I'm hoping to accomplish in the 2027 cycle would be things like Drew Collins specifically has mentioned. He wants to meet more of the podcasters. The same way that Clint is moving from night to night so he gets to work with other podcasters. I want to be able to accomplish more of that so that we have more connections within our group because I think that's going to make everything we do better. So, I also want to give a shout out to Newt Weston. Like Newt, you didn't podcast over the summer, but you podcasted just during the main part of the draft cycle. I truly appreciate that as well. There's a really good chance that I'm leaving some names out. So my apologies. I think I've covered nearly every name of somebody that's podcasting regularly. So if I haven't mentioned you, my sincere apologies. Um, what I'm hoping to do is to be a leader in draft coverage so that when people are watching our podcasts from May through December, they're learning new names because we've watched the players, we've covered them on our podcasts. Other players have watched the players after you found them, and we're leading each other, but we're also leading the draft community. So that's the goal. So if you have ideas for how to achieve that goal, please let me know because I do want to listen to your ideas as well. A couple of other changes for 2026 for the 2027 draft cycle. There's a good chance that you will be able to podcast without me. I believe I've figured out how to enable that on StreamYard. We need to give that a test run, but I think I figured that out. So it, if you know the content that I think will generate, let's say, longevity, we're going to make a list of the 800 best prospects. Well, next year, 400 of those guys will already be on the list. 400 go into the draft, 400 went back to school. So now we're just trying to increment the list with the new players. And again, I have some ideas for how we do that as well. So again, this is me just recording very brief. I think this is going 12 minutes, which I think is too long at this point. So I want to say from just the the core of my being, I'm humbled by all of your contributions, every single one of you. Thank you. And I'll be putting this video up on YouTube, and I hope you can give it a listen. So thank you very much. I look forward to closing this draft cycle out. I look forward to starting summer scouting in May. And if there's anything I can ever do to promote you more than I am now, just tell me what I need to do. And you better believe I'm going to do it because you guys have given me and this channel so much. So this is me saying thank you. And we're not done yet, but this is me giving you guys a sincere thank you. So every single one of the people that are podcasting with draft professors and making this channel function, this 13-minute video is for you. Thank you so much.